All right, today I'm going to talk to you guys about why I like these old man pocket knives so much. Probably the first time I picked up one of these knives and I was just really blown away was when I got this knife here. And this is what's commonly referred to as a coffin jack. And I think you can kind of see why if you turn it this way. It looks kind of like a coffin. It's squared off. But all of this is done. All of the chamfering of the edge here, the inlaying of the shield. These bolsters are stamped out by hand, and they're stamped out and produced using 100-plus-year-old machines. Right here in Pennsylvania, using the American workforce every single day, and they're producing these knives just like they would have been produced 100-plus years ago. Just absolutely amazing the quality that they can get out of these knives by hand on 100-year-old equipment. And I'm sure if you followed my videos or if you looked at my Instagram page, you can see that I'm a big fan of modern knives. And let's not kid ourselves. There are producers and manufacturers right now that have state-of-the-art equipment, and they can't produce knives as consistent and as precise as these knives are with this level of tolerance. Honestly, some of these knives, I would dare say that they could go almost toe-to-toe with something like a Chris Reeves knife. And if you know anything about them, they state that they use tolerances tighter than what NASA uses. Now, take everything with a grain of salt. I'm not doubting them, but they also have a product to sell. So they say that they have tolerances tighter than NASA. It's not arguable that they have one of the most precise knives in the business. That's not in dispute. So I'll let you decide on the NASA thing or not. But this knife was one of the first knives that kind of blew me away. Like I said, the chamfering here, the inlaying of these shields. I hope you can see that there are no gaps. There's nothing. It's just like one piece. These bolsters, they were all stamped on the machine and then polished and ground to match. There's very, very, very little difference between the bone covers here and the bolster. Just an amazing piece of work in this day and time to be produced by hand. I mean, just absolutely amazing. Even this year at Blade, I stopped by the Great Eastern Cutlery booth and I talked to the lady that is actually in charge of dyeing these knives. And she actually has a recipe book where she pulls out her recipes and she mixes up the chemicals for the dye by hand every single day. So everything is done by hand. After I got this knife, I was definitely more interested in Great Eastern Cutlery. And at the time, the Apostle P, he had some videos of where he was going around and visiting the different traditional knife manufacturing companies. And he actually went into Great Eastern Cutlery and he did a 3 or 4 part series where he walks a knife from the beginning to the end of the process. And I'll link that down below in this video here. Not too long after that, I picked up one of these knives. Unfortunately, I was dumb and I sold my first 38 Grinling Whittler. If you have one of these knives, you know what a great piece of artwork this is. If you don't have one, you know how much we were hoping that when they ran the 38s this year, they were going to come out with the Whittler pattern again, the split back Whittler. And it's called a split back Whittler because I think you can see it's kind of hard because this is all steel. There's a little spacer here in between these two back springs, and the two back springs are wider here to run independent blades on one single spring on either side, and that spacer gets narrower and you can see it disappears right around here and it turns into one blade. Again, all of this is done by hand on 100-year-old equipment. Modern makers can't even match these tolerances, not consistently and not on a mass scale. These things are done by hand on 100-year-old equipment. Look at how far this main blade comes past the tangs of those knives. It comes all the way out the other side. no rubbing, no anything. I mean, that is just amazing, and all done by hand. All done by hand. So, as I was mentioning, this main blade, which is a clip blade, it rides on the two springs come together to form a single spring, and it rides on that single spring. However, these two blades here, the spring is actually split back, Whittler, hence the name, into two separate springs. So this blade here runs on one of those springs, you can see there, and this blade here runs on the other spring, as you can see there. So you can see this runs on the two springs that go together to form one, and these two springs here are two separate springs to run the two smaller blades. Beautiful knife, beautifully done. As you can see, everything goes together with no rubbing or anything. And look how far the tip of that blade comes past the tangs of those two smaller knives. I mean, again, all done by hand, 100-year-old equipment, right here in the United States. I don't know what more you could say about a product. And most of these knives, now they're starting to get up around $100, but up until recently, most of these knives could be had for $80 or $90. I mean, where else can you get something like this made by hand in America for $80 or $90 with these tolerances, this quality? You can also see here, because I know some people will say, okay, well, you showed us the covers on this one. You showed us the multi-bladed knife and how good the tolerances are, but you know, anybody could get lucky or whatever. Well, look at this knife. And now this is, some people will say, oh, well, this is a Tom's Choice Barlow, which is an SFO made by Charlie Campagna. And some people say that the tolerances are a little bit different. However, according to GC, they're all run on the same line by the same people on the same machines to the same tolerances. This is a single bladed knife. And look at how little space there is in that blade well. I mean, you almost can't see any daylight in there. However, again, I'll open it up and you can see that blade does not rub any part of that blade well. Not a single part of it. All of the swedge here is done by hand. This stamp is done by hand. The edges are put on by hand. I mean, these knives are just really modern day works of art. And you can hear just how snappy they are. Very nice knife. And the last knife I'll show you, if those didn't impress you, look at this. Look at all of these blades in this little tiny space. And not any of them rub against one another. That is absolutely amazing. And again, look how far this blade here goes past the tang of those two tools, because not everything in here is a knife. This is a camp knife, so not everything is a blade. It runs all the way out to the end, and you can see that here. Just a big, huge clip point blade. Down on this side, on the very side, squeezed in between the inner liner and this tool here, you have an awl on a half stop. Next blade over would be a sheep's foot blade. Again, look at these blades. There's no rub whatsoever. None. I already showed you the clip point blade, and then on the other side you have a bottle opener and a can opener. Again, no rub, nothing. This is just, I don't know how they do it. I do not know how they do it. Now again, this knife was a little bit more expensive, but this whole knife, all of the chamfering, all of the bolster work here, and this knife has been carried, so those scratches, it didn't come that way. This bone, the pinning of the bone, the setting of the springs and the spring tension, pinning this bail on here, setting the spacing of the blades, everything was done by hand. I mean, I just don't know where you could get another deal like this in the United States for a United States made product. It's amazing. And that's why these knives intrigue me. I think that all of us knife guys like mechanics, and that's part of it. These knives to me exemplify what creating a mechanical piece of artwork is. That's what draws me to these knives. I could go on and on for days, but I'm just going to mention one more thing here, and then I'm going to get out of here. This sheath goes with my camp knife here, and it's a very, very nice sheath. I didn't talk to him before I said this, but Wolfman Zach 89 on Instagram, Wolfman Zach 89. He made this slip for me. Very high quality leather. Fits the knife like a glove. I just gave him the specifications of the knife, and he made this for me. Now, I'm not speaking for him. I don't know. I'm sure he would prefer to have the knife. But if you have a chance, check him out, Wolfman Zach 89. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you.